Joining us in studio now just to make sense of the clashes in Marsabit is Dr. Danvas Makori. He is a commissioner with the National Cohesion and Integration Commission. Thank you so much for coming in, Commissioner. Let's go to the beginning of this, if you will. There was a meeting that was done in Laikipia back in November.
Yes.
With several of the leaders from Marsabit. Several agreements were come to. What did they say they would actually commit to in terms of bringing peace to the area?
Well, actually, that's not the beginning. It's one of the high points we had. I'll walk back quickly. But when we convened that meeting as a commission for all the political leaders in Marsabit, one of the ways forward was practical was an appointment of a committee of 7 from each side so that we can have a comprehensive peace agreement in Marsabit. That has lacked for the past so many years in this conflict. And they each appointed their representatives. And we had 2 or 3 meetings, and by December, that peace process stalled, it was torpedoed, and from that time, we've seen loss of life every day, and nights when it's getting to news, but every day, almost 3 people are dying in Marsabit, on average, till today. So
what did they actually agree on? And you said one of them kind of pulled out and scuttled the whole process.
The agreement was, like I said, they will appoint leaders from their community, elders. It was a mixed group of people especially from the warring communities, the Boranas and the Gabras. And we had a time frame of 6 months on the first phase, another 6 months, so it was a year process, so that we can have a comprehensive peace process in Marsabit. Yes, that was the overall what was agreed upon. A few things we of course were talking about. They actually acknowledged that as leaders they have failed their people. It was a press conference, it's on record, and that's why they took that step. I think it was bold. The second part, which was agreed upon, is they will go on the ground now. So that together, the things we agreed in Laikipia, in Olpajeta, they will speak in Marsabit. That didn't happen, because if that happened, we'll not be here today.
Dr. Makori, you've been on the ground yourself in Marsabit.
Yes.
You've been there.
Yes, absolutely.
Paint a picture for us. What's it like?
First of all, let me start with the positive. It is the most spectacular, beautiful place in Kenya. It is vast. It's from rainforest to a desert, mountains. The people are awesome, welcoming, lovely people. But this conflict has upended, to me, first of all, Marsabit is the largest county in Kenya. It is the size of Western, Nyanza, and Central combined, and you still have space. It's a vast territory. There's tremendous potential. It's a gateway to the north. Ethiopia, 80 million people. There's a beautiful road all the way to Moyale. But this conflict that has persisted and it's actually the recent conflict. You know, in other parts of Kenya, you have conflicts that have been there for decades. The Marsabit is a generational conflict, just one generation away that just started. But it is intractable, it has persisted, it is tough, it is dynamic, it's very complex. Essentially, it has been 2 communities, the Gabras and Boranas. Now the Rendilias are being sucked into it, and we're seeing lots of life. Initially, it was in the outskirts of the town. Years back, it was Moyale town. Now we're seeing what you just reported right now. Actually, that violence that you saw was actually in town. Something has never been seen, actually, as much as we speak.
And you're saying about average of 3 people are dying every day?
Oh yeah. Well, I'd say for the past since the peace process is actually stalled, we've seen an escalation. People have been arming themselves, and at least on average, 2 or 3 people will die, and it doesn't get on news. And I'm glad now you've caught it, because we need to shine the spotlight so that the people who need to take action and the perpetrators need to be exposed, because that is a key thing actually. Because they hide in darkness, because nobody's going to know, so they hide and continue in these violent acts.
I wonder why, from December till we're in the month of July now, this has persisted. And yes, I get the media attention does bring at least some action, but there are security forces on the ground. There is a government. Why hasn't anything been done?
There's numerous efforts that have been taken in place, and one of the complaints, to answer your question, for the people of Marsabit, this is something both parties now. The one thing they agree is there's been a lot of inaction as far as the government is concerned, which leads to impunity, which leads to the revenge cycle. Because if you injure me or kill me, and I feel there's no justice, then I'll take action. So yes, both sides agree that there has been inaction, delayed response as far as the security response is concerned. But about a month ago, we had a meeting with the Regional Security Intelligence Committee and the County Security Intelligence Committee, and we agreed on a raft of measures that need to be taken urgently, one of which you're seeing today is the deployment of that special contingent of our formed units, the BPU, the RDU, and the GSU, and conduct a special operation in Marsabit. Marsabit is not Kapedo. It is vast, and the dynamic is very different. So we need a different operation there, which the police commander has announced they have started, and that approach will be taken. Yes.
As the NCIC, do you feel your hands are tied? Do you feel helpless out there?
No, not really. It's challenging. It's difficult. It's not been easy. But I can tell you for a fact, we started this peace process 1 year ago. We've had 21 engagement stakeholders from grassroots, the elders, the elders from both sides, the Rendilas, the Borans, the Gabras, the women group, the youth, and Gaos, everybody, 21, the professionals, and we've done what we can, and it's not easy, I can tell you for a fact. We've done what we can. We've advised government, we've appeared before the National Committee of Security Administration in Parliament, led by the late Paul Koinange, and when I called him on his Marsabit actually, and he responded very swiftly. He actually took his entire committee, so that my report that I gave him, he went to verify, and he got the same response, the same challenges that we saw. I say we've appeared for 3 committees in Parliament. We've had serious engagement with the Interior Ministry concerning this issue, and there are certain agreements we've had, and we know they'll be taken to action. It's a complex issue. I mean, peace building is not cheap. I mean, it's expensive too. There's a financial component to it, and to which we know for a fact, if all goes well, that will come to play. But this is a very complex and dynamic conflict.
You mentioned peace building is an expensive affair,
yeah.
You know, and we know this is ethnic violence.
Yes.
A lot of it is politically motivated.
Yes.
But we're coming into an election year.
Yep.
And election violence is inevitable. What does the NCIC have in place to deal with this impending crisis?
Let me start by saying I don't think election violence is inevitable. I think we can stem that tide for now. I think it's about time we did that actually. What we have in place, in December we unveiled a roadmap to peaceful election called Election Bila Norma, a 6-point agenda. One of the things that we are doing, because we realize it is to take a collective effort to have peace in the country, we've convened a multi-agency task force. With us, with the IBC, with the DCI, with the EACC, the ORPP, the judiciary, so that, one, there's a preventive mechanism towards it, so especially in the prevention part. Within that agency is really to engage the politicians, like you say. They are the ones who are troublemakers. So we engage them on this level in terms of deterrence. 2, we're organizing a series of meetings, starting with what we call a national symposium. We'll convene national symposiums with key stakeholders, whether it's the politicians, whether it's government actors, non-state actors, the youth, women, really, again, to build. Because for me, you build peace during a time of peace. And we are convinced, and we are persuaded actually we can do it. NCSC was formed out of 07, 08 violence, and we cannot afford again to go back there. And we'll make sure we made all efforts to that. We've lobbied for the funds to make sure that the resources are available to partake and take this exercise. And I think we're confident. Our plans are there. Even when we launched a strategic plan last week, it was very clear we really focused on the election violence.
Dr. Makori,
yes.
You say you sound very hopeful. But every single day we can hear the drum beats growing louder and louder. What do you say to that? The drum beats are growing louder, and you seem so hopeful that we're not going to have violence in the next 12 months. What do you say?
Jeff, from where I sit, position determines perspective. And I agree with you. One positive silver lining for COVID, it tempered those drum beats. Okay? We've seen reduced political meetings and actions, so on and so forth. But Jeff, let's be very factual here. It's a few individuals. It's not a lot of people actually who are troublemakers. I think we forget. It's not all politicians. As a matter of fact, 90% of them are peace-loving. It's about 5%. So our target and our focus is on those troublemakers. It's not on everyone. I mean, we are democracy. We respect the rule of law, civil liberties, go on doing your activities in a peaceful way. But our target is indoors. So that's why for me, the reason I'm confident is and hopeful is not just because for the sake of it, because we know the troublemakers. We have a strategy to contain them, to engage them. And I'm confident if we execute it properly, we will not see that. But also I will talk to the Kenyan citizenry. At the end of the day, they are the ones who engage, they're the ones who perpetrate the violence. For them actually, if they resist and they persist and resist what they're being incited to be helpful. But for us, we're focused on the few individuals who have been troublemakers, and we have, especially in the private setting I've talked to some of them, and they've agreed actually to pursue peace instead of what the violent rhetoric they've pursued.
Yeah, Dr. Makori, we'll have to leave it at that. We'll keep talking in the next 12 months or so.
All right.
Thanks so much for your time.
Thanks, Jeff.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
All right.